Hello everyone. I'm at my favorite spot, if I have a favorite spot. I don't usually like to say favorite because there's so many good spots. This is one of my favorites. And it's on a hike that I typically do quite a lot. But I haven't been out here in over a month. It just never flowed for me to come out here, and it's been rainy. And today is gorgeous. I'm going to show you the view, but I'm going to come back and talk some stuff. There was even a guy out here that was paddleboarding with his shirt off. It's super warm. I'm in a sweater because I thought it was going to be cold. I have to wear, this is my jacket. I had to take it off because I'm actually sweating underneath this quite wintry sweater, but it's been cold lately, so I thought maybe I needed it. Hi, Susie. I'm at one of my favorite spots. You probably know this spot. I need to be out there with my paddleboard. Oh my gosh, you have a paddleboard. Wow. I am so impressed with people that paddleboard because it looks like it's really very strenuous exercise and definitely good for your core, right? Which I think is great. I could use to do that, but yeah, it's I see people out here doing that a lot because I usually do this trail a lot, but I haven't for a while since before I went to California, and I just have really missed being outside. I've really missed moving my body on a hike, like a longer hike, you know, so it's great. And I'm excited to be in this spot because it's a little sitting spot. And I just love it. I've done most of the hike and I got about a fourth of the way to go. So it's Friday. Happy Venus Day, everyone. So I was thinking about talking about Taurus and Scorpio. It feels like it's been kind of a Taurus Scorpio day because I've really been exposed to a lot of information about the Taurus Scorpio axes. And it's not that it's been astrologers or astrology, it's just been watching things in action, you know, watching, you know, what people are talking about. And it's really like opened my eyes to that, you know, realistically, the Taurus Scorpio nodal shift is already coming into consciousness and collective focus. I think because on November 19th, we have our first full moon eclipse in Taurus. And if you've been following me, you know, December 4th, we have a new moon eclipse in Sag. And some of the stuff I've been exposed to, I am kind of like, whoa, this Taurus Scorpio axis it might be a little intense, to be honest, because Scorpio is the sign of intensity. Because it has to do with our primal fears, I should say primal instincts, which include fears, right? Fears of loss of something, and so, you know, the thing about this axis is it will bring up what's been in the unconscious because it's Scorpio. And Scorpio really does bring up what's in the unconscious. It's so that we can make it conscious. So we evolve through making the unconscious conscious. And with this axis of consciousness, which we're going to be going into collective focus with, you know, to say exact, it's in January. I believe it's January 19th that the nodes shift into Taurus Scorpio. But we're going to be feeling it. We're already feeling it. And so it is going to bring to our attention any of our unconscious fears and the intensity that can result from that. And it is going to expose where we feel powerless and also where we feel empowered. It can actually be an opportunity to really actually harness our own power. But on the flip side of it, it can also be where we relinquish our power and empowerment. So it will expose that, and it will, be a test of our own, of really where our soul is at, and in its evolutionary path. And the Taurus piece is very much about our values, our needs, our survival versus thrival, and because transiting Uranus is in Taurus, this can be a real quickening of this axis in consciousness, where we're really looking at what we value, and also what are our fears. The thing is when we face our fears, when we actually look at our fears, or our fears are exposed to us, this actually helps us to evolve. And typically the things we fear, we repress. It goes into the unconscious, and then what often happens is then we project it out into the outer world because we've repressed it. And it's understandable that people repress things like that because it's painful. And it can, I think it's natural. I mean, fear just exposes what we value. But it's what we do with it. It's how we walk with it that really shows our capacity to harness our own empowerment. So one of the things that's been brought to my attention is that we want to be aware of the dynamics of this axis of consciousness. This is going to be a collective focus for 18 months. And when we're aware of it, we can actually navigate it more efficiently and potentially utilize. Hi, enjoy. It can be, when we're aware of these things, we can actually harness the energy. We can see things for what they are, and not we can minimize the triggers. And when there's triggers, it really just means that there's something unconscious going on that wants to be resolved, that may be repressed, right? And it wants to be resolved in order to actually harness our own empowerment. And on a certain level, it's like soul retrieval. So it's parts of our own empowerment that we have not integrated yet. And so wherever our fears are lingering in the unconscious shows where we aren't harnessing our own empowerment and our own power, and where we're also then not empowering in the world, right? So it's going to be an exploration of really harnessing our own empowerment. That's what it can be. But again, it can also be a real exposure of all the shadows in the collective shadow, right? Neptune is in Pisces. And the thing about Neptune going through Pisces is that it is one of the shadows of Neptune, or one of the shadows of Pisces can be this idea of victimhood. I think I've talked about this before. So it's going to expose any areas where we're not harnessing our power because we claim to be a victim. And this axis is going to be really interesting because Saturn and Pluto are going to square it at some point as well from Aquarius. And so that can be a real pressure to evolve this part of our consciousness, the Taurus and the Scorpio part of our consciousness. And that's a great opportunity. But it is going to likely have us looking at some of the unconscious stuff that we've been carrying around, and everybody has it. You know, everybody's got Pluto somewhere in their chart and is working on their own evolution and own evolutionary path. So bringing light to the darkness, consciousness to our fear, and teaches us where we can expand and grow. Exactly. I love the way that you create this synopsis, right? Because that is what it's about. And so I thought to share that it is going to be important to look at. I believe it's going to be important. I believe we're actually going to energetically be, and we can't really repress natural cycles, right? And this cycle is really about, we can try to repress natural cycles, but it would be very hard to with this collective focus with the nodes. So, we want to be aware that everyone's fears are going to be coming up. Everyone's intensities are going to be coming up. Everyone's unconscious wounds are going to be coming up. And so it's going to be really important to stay in our center, centered in our own values and centered in our own empowerment, centered in our own relationship to ourselves, and recognize that people's fears will be stirred up. It's going to be potentially intense because people will make it intense. They will dramatize it all, and to the level of what's been repressed in the unconscious is to the level that it gets projected out as cataclysms and as intensity and drama, really. So, victim, what is this happening? What is this happening to me? Empowered, how is this happening for me? Exactly, that's so lovely. Exactly. How is this happening for me? That should be our motto, I think, for this next 18 months. That's so great, Susie. How is this happening for me? Because this is the thing, is that I really believe all the transits are happening for us. But we have free will. We get to navigate it. And it just exposes, where we're at. And this is such a gift, because it gives us the opportunity to know ourselves and to really actually harness our own power. Notice the ways that we're not harnessing our power. Notice what our fears are about harnessing our own power, which really centers us back within ourselves and our own soul. So it is something that can be happening for us. That's such a great motto. I want that to be the motto for the next 18 months. I'm going to have to write that down and put it on my computer or something. So I'm noticing that the collective focus is already going there, and individual focus is going there. It makes sense because we're not that far off from the first eclipse in Taurus. And yes, the nodes will still, even when we have that eclipse in Taurus, we're still going to have the nodes in Gemini Sag. So the Gemini Sag is the axis of truth versus lies. I won't be surprised if things are exposed, some kind of information is exposed. It could be information that doesn't make us feel real comfortable. But again, it's happening for us so that we can actually navigate these transits in a way that actually steer us in the direction that is in alignment with our values and our own evolutionary path. Yes, staying centered and balanced for ourselves and everyone around us. Exactly. Because this is the thing, is energy is contagious, right? And so the best we can to really stay centered, it's not to detach ourselves from our emotions, but to really walk with the utmost emotional intelligence as we can. And it will prompt us to work with that, because Scorpio is a water sign, so it is about the emotions. And so it will, it's likely to be testing that. And so being centered for ourselves, for others, when we're centered, we can be most effective as well. So thank you, Susie. The language of the stars. Yeah. I was replying to your comment earlier. I didn't finish it, but it fascinates me, especially with our experience last night of you showing me your art and going, oh my gosh, that's the transits today. This is amazing. And just really, really recognizing that your art is really translating the energies. And yeah, it's awesome. I'm really thankful to know this language of the planets and astrology, because it's really helped me evolve a lot. It's helped me to really see with the language of energy, and be more effective with where and how I apply my energy. And this is what I think, the astrology can be helpful with. So yeah, so everything I was noticing today, I mean, my brain was translating it into the astrological language, and I was like, oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. And noticing the emotions that were coming up for me, going, okay, remember, this is part of the Taurus Scorpio axes, and it's going to be a spectrum of experience. And so it is going to be important to stay centered, because it is going to bring up wounds of the unconscious for everyone. And so recognizing that we could get really taken, swooped up in other people's fields of woundedness and wounds. And, it's not to say, and not acknowledging that the wounds are there, because they're collective wounds, but just that they can be over dramatized where we can't be effective with them. So, yeah, it's I was noticing it today, and just my brain is always translating into astrology, because astrology is just studying energy that manifests into life, and it's energy that creates life, but it's also energy that densifies into the physical plane, the emotional plane, the mental plane, spiritual plane. So that's what I was thinking to talk about today. I think that pretty much wraps up what I was thinking about. It's Venus's day. Venus is the guide to Taurus. It's the inner side of Venus. So it's really about our personal relationship to our own evolutionary path, and our personal relationship to our own soul. And this is what Taurus and Scorpio is all about. And this is really the gist of, what's going to happen with this 18-month cycle of Taurus Scorpio nodal axis, is our relationship to ourself, and our relationship to our own evolutionary path, and our relationship to our own soul. And so it is going to be the opportunity to recalibrate to a new level of empowerment, and a new level to our own relationships to ourselves, a new level to the relationship we have with our own evolutionary path and the evolutionary path of the collective. So there is a lot of lovely potential in this transit. And I love that this came up on Venus's day, Freya's day, Friday. And yeah, it's going to be our guide. Venus is our guide, as well as Pluto, in that nodal axis exploration for that 18 months. So when we do the work of healing our own wounds with compassion, we are able to witness the wounds of others with compassion. Absolutely. And I will say that compassion is going to be necessary, which is a Neptunian or Piscean theme, but the shadow side of that is not having boundaries. And so we're going to want to really be applying our boundaries, because the Pluto in Capricorn is really exposing where we need to have boundaries as well. We need to be implementing boundaries appropriately. And when I say boundaries, I mean healthy boundaries, so that we can stay centered in our own lives, and not only for ourselves, but for others. Boundaries are really healthy because they help us to funnel energy in the direction we wish to go, rather than it going and splattering just everywhere and it being really messy and not an effective use of our emotional energy and our energies. So it's a way of actually protecting. So it's important to have boundaries, but healthy boundaries, and boundaries that are implemented with compassion. And something I talked about in a post that I wrote today is just that we've lived in a society that has not had a good relationship with boundaries, which is why Pluto going through Capricorn has been very rocky in a way, because there's been a real inappropriate use of boundaries, and then also violations of boundaries, and on all levels, just in anywhere in consciousness, and we've been exposed to that, right? So we want to be setting up healthy boundaries and healthy compassion, because compassion without boundaries is not healthy. It's actually promoting lack of self-responsibility and accountability and things like that. So Pluto in Capricorn, along with Neptune and Pisces, they've been in pretty much of what's called a sextile. It's a 60-degree aspect from each other. There's this kind of an easy flow of energy, but it can be kind of sloppy as well. So this is the thing, is that we want to be careful about spiritual bypassing and denial, and also a lack of healthy boundaries, and lack of implementing boundaries out of the idea that, all is love, because that's, love is also having healthy boundaries and implementing them in the most loving way possible. And, the thing is that people that don't have boundaries really don't like to be told a boundary. And so there can be a lot of projection that happens when people implement boundaries, because it's a wound. Usually people that don't have boundaries have been wounded. Their own boundaries have been violated in the past. And really, when you look at society, whose boundaries haven't been violated for some reason or another, right? So this Pluto-Neptune aspect it can be exposing that lack of self-accountability and lack of, implementing boundaries, and out of the name of compassion, or, everything is one, and it's not to say that everything isn't one, because I believe that, but it is important so that we can function correctly and steer consciousness in a way that is effective and loving. We have to have those healthy boundaries. And so boundaries have been I think a very big confusion for people. And I think it's really been because of the shadow side of Pisces and the Piscean age. So it's definitely something to study and explore. And so I definitely would like to write a piece about that specific aspect, the Pluto-Neptune. Sometimes I feel like when I write things, it's more clear. I'm a huge editor. I have to write, and then I have to edit, and it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer. And so sometimes with subjects like that, maybe I'll do like a live for that specifically, and then maybe I'll do a write-up. But I definitely want to write some notes about it, because it's an important, very important piece with Neptune in the last 6 degrees of Pisces and Pluto in the last 5 degrees of Capricorn. So I hope you all have a wonderful, lovely rest of your day, evening, or morning. And I'm going to remember again, I'm so excited about my YouTube channel. I am sharing this astrological information, healing videos on YouTube. So I will put my YouTube link in the comments if you'd like to subscribe. I want to get to 1,000 subscribers because I want to go live on there. So I'm really excited. So if you would like to support me, or you like astrology, you'd like to support this kind of information getting out about the astrological influences and, exploring consciousness through the planetary system of astrology, then you can support my channel. So I will put the link in there, and thanks so much to everyone who hopped on and whoever is watching the replay, and I'll be back tomorrow.